Okay, I want to welcome you to your American government or U.S. politics class. This is an asynchronous course, which means it is all online. There are no regular meetings. Well, that's clear enough, right? There's no regular meetings. I'm Professor Jason Leggett, and I want to introduce you to the basics of the syllabus, go over some of the details, and then you'll have a syllabus assignment that will serve as your first assignment, so I know who's engaged in the class, and to let you know that the two assignments you need to get done are the syllabus survey, and then you'll need to get your first thought paper in this week as well. There's a third assignment on Blackboard that's just an introduction on the discussion board to let everybody know who you are, and you need to get these assignments done in order to continue to stay in this course. Professors have to drop students who have not completed the assignments by the second week of the class. So the main things that you should think about for this course with me is that you're really, as freshmen, most of you are freshmen, you'll be starting to do critical inquiry. So my job is to teach you about political institutions, which are the structures, the systems, the rules, the people, and how these kind of influence your day-to-day life. So I do that through guided readings, plus you'll be doing your own independent research. All of these readings and the assignments will be on Blackboard, so that's how you access this. If you're having any trouble, you need to go to the CUNY Help Desk. So you search Google, put Kingsborough Help Desk, and then you have to create a ticket. If you're still having trouble, email me and we'll try to figure out how to help you. The basic work here is you'll have a discussion board. There's going to be 3 discussion boards plus the introduction, 3 short one-page papers, very quick reflections that I want you to do based on the readings, a midterm, and a final exam. You'll also have a social science assignment that will lead into the final exam. I want to make a statement about equity just to let you know that historically, the government, especially the U.S. government, was founded on racial capitalism. It was founded on slavery. So it has not been an inclusive institution. It's been a very discriminatory institution. And so politicians, lawyers, judges, and law enforcement officers have often used legal justifications for the abuse of power. And this has been particularly against Black and Indigenous populations, as well as women, throughout the history of the United States. So we want to just all acknowledge that and understand that as we start to unpack what all this kind of means. As someone who's been raised in the cultural traditions of white Anglo-Saxon Protestant men, I've benefited a great deal from institutional and ideological biases that encourage folks in positions of authority and privilege to give me the benefit of the doubt and assistance based on these shared norms. This is not something I take for granted, and I explore this through some of the readings and then also hopefully in conversations with you all. So in response to this reality, I've spent over 20 years working to uncover my own biases, to work as an anti-racist, to interrogate and navigate through those within a system that promotes exclusions and superiorities, and to consider what I can do with others to reduce the harms caused by this system. As far as grading, it's pretty clearly indicated here. I want to let you know that any extra credit activities, those are worth up to a 10% boost in your final grade, which can make a big difference, especially at the end of the semester. I'll provide these at various times in the semester, and we'll often use the Blackboard announcements to let you know of any events or activities that you want to get involved in, usually that day, the next day, or sometime during that week, depending on how soon I find out about them. There's also the possibility if you want to do a research assignment with me, we can do that separate. The main topic that I'm researching this semester is homelessness. There's various kind of subcategories that you can look at on that big kind of broad term homelessness. That also includes housing injustice, food injustice, gentrification, the criminalization of the homeless population. There's kind of a lot of different aspects to it if you're interested in that. The main 4 areas of grading in this course will be through the discussion board. You'll have 3 different posts, not counting the introduction. That's worth 20% of your final grade, and each of those posts will be graded on a scale of 10, which you'll see in your grade book in the discussion board. If you see a 7, that's a C. If you see a 6, that's a D. An 8 would be a B, a 9 would be an A, and a 10 would be an A+. Those will then be averaged to formulate your final grade for that 20% chunk. Almost always on those discussion boards, in order to get a full 10 points, you will need to have posted following the instructions, and then you'll also need to respond to at least one other student and sometimes two other students. So for example, you might post something, but you might not follow the instructions. You might not post to somebody else. You'd probably get a 4 or a 5 depending on the quality of your answer. You won't get a full grade unless you follow all of the instructions. You'll also, in the first half of the semester, in the first 3 weeks, have one-page thought papers. So these are not long. I'm not asking you to do references or to do citations. I'm just asking to get your thoughts out. And these are really about you carefully reading and then responding to the reading following the instructions. Each of those are worth 10 points. Again, the same scale. Those will be averaged to get you your 30% grade there as well. That will also show up on Blackboard, but this one will show up a little bit later, closer to around the time of the midterm or just right after. Speaking of the midterm, that's worth 20%. That will include reading comprehension. So how well did you understand the reading? So I encourage you to take notes. I encourage you to ask me questions if you're not understanding part of the reading. And I will also try to provide explanatory videos that help you get deeper in as I'm kind of seeing where you're all at with the thought papers. I'm also going to ask you to define terms in your own words, so don't copy and paste from the internet. That'll get an automatic 0. I'm looking, do you really understand what these terms mean? So a concept like federalism, I'm sure that's something you heard once upon a time, but do you know what it means? Or are you just able to copy and paste it and say, well, here's the definition? I need you to show me that you understand what these things mean. It's okay if you don't. That's kind of easier to work with in some ways, right? Because you're going to explore what these concepts mean to different people, which is really the most important thing. And then you'll also have a brief reflection on just kind of how well are you understanding the course materials? How are you making sense of them? What issues are coming up for you? And how are you thinking about this class in the big picture? And then finally, you'll have a final exam, which is going to be 30% of your grade. And it'll be a long response kind of a test. So I'll give you a prompt and then you'll respond almost like an essay, but not quite as formal. So just to talk about the one-page thought papers is, again, it's just about doing the reading, so making sure you're doing it carefully and slowly, and that you're taking some notes. And then you want to come up with a thesis. If you've taken English 12, you should have talked about that, right? It's an argument or a position. It's a point of view. You can also do a critical inquiry. Maybe you see something that doesn't quite make sense to you, and you say, I want to spend my page here, and that's single-spaced, right? 12 font Times New Roman. I'm going to spend that page just kind of thinking about this question that was raised as I was reading it. Really, you're showing me that you're engaging with that reading and that you're thinking about it. And what you really want to get good at, I'll try to help you with this as we go along again through the explanatory videos, is you want to develop the paper. So you want to develop the one-page paper using evidence from the reading. So get into the habit of, here's one where you can copy and paste, right? You can copy and paste a sentence from the reading, or even better, you paraphrase it in your own words to say, this is what I think this means, and this is what I think is the purpose of that. And I think that's what you kind of want to focus on. And then I'd like you to practice ending with a proposition. So put a new form of knowledge out there, throw something out there saying, this is what I think now after I've read this. Or something you think might extend the conversation. So imagine that somebody else is reading it, because obviously your classmates are reading it, and put out maybe a question for them or a comment, or what do you think they should take from it? So I really want you to think about this as engaging in a dialogue. And again, we'll try to find ways to share your points of view using videos, and then possibly maybe an extra credit discussion board, just depending on how you're all doing. It's probably worth, especially since many of you are freshmen, going over the assignment language. So just so you're aware, you probably already knew this, but there are learning styles that are unique to each of us. Ordinarily, you don't have one learning style, although people tend to talk that way, like they possess it. You tend to learn in different ways, right? This is true of everyone, especially children, as they're kind of learning. After a while, adults tend to focus on, well, this is the way I learn. Again, you learn many different ways. So the point here is that I give you lots of opportunities to show me what you're learning. So an assignment, if I talk about an assignment, it's almost always like a Google form, which is the same thing for the midterm and the final exam. And so that's really, I'm looking for like a response from you that shows me that you've been thinking about these materials throughout the course, and then you're giving me a clear, concise kind of statement. I'm not expecting for you to type out a long essay here. I'm looking for really clear, right to the point kind of answers that are really showing me that this is in your own words. This is what you understand this to be. When I say read, I assume that you're taking notes. And again, I'm putting up the suggested due dates for time management. If you get behind, it's okay, right? Don't freak out. I definitely prefer that you do the reading, but you want to try to stay in the same timeline so that you're not getting behind. If I ask you just to examine something, it's usually going to be a website, and I'm asking you to explore and to search for hyperlinks. So don't just stop, right? Don't just look at the front page and say, okay, I've done it, right? Really explore it. Try to find out what else is going on there and dig as deep as you can. If I ask you to respond, I'm really looking for you to critically and apply your learning in a way that shows me that not only are you thinking about the readings, not only are you thinking about the course content, that now you can apply it to a new scenario. So that's really what I'll be looking for there. Extra credit can be thought of as either enrichment or intervention. So it's either something to help you kind of catch up, or it's something to help you get ahead. And again, I'm looking for you to apply your learning. I might give you some tools. This is kind of practice for coursework, and I want you to review an exercise. So these are usually not graded. They're just things that are to help you for, say for example, for like the post midterm review, that will help you think about how to prepare for the for the final exam. You're not going to have to churn anything in for that. I'm just expecting you to, again, review and kind of use it. Watch will usually mean I'm giving you a YouTube video. Again, I expect you to take notes just like you would be doing with a reading. Join will be especially if there's any optional. Sometimes students ask for like an optional session where we get to talk to each other. I can't make that mandatory because this is asynchronous, so there are no weekly meetings, but I can offer extra credit and I can offer, I can record those, and so everybody has access to them. The idea is that you would ask questions, though, if you participate, right? It's not just you sitting back and watching something. It's that you're really getting involved. Otherwise, there's not really any point in me doing them. So participate usually means in this class will be for the discussion board, again, the optional Zooms, any assignments through Google Forms or extra credit that I give you, that'll show me that you're participating. Review and use. Is if I might give you like a study guide, just depending again on how you're all doing. I might summarize some of the things that were coming up in the thought papers to help you prepare for the final exam, for example. Obviously, the exams are ways of you showing me that you're thinking deeply and that you're getting it, right? Again, that it's not your just ability to copy and paste something or to memorize something, right? This is college level learning, no longer, kind of at that high school or that everyday kind of thinking that we do in life. This is showing me that you're actually engaged with the materials and that it's sinking in. And then there is no draft and final paper for this class. So really just the thought papers are about practicing college level work, getting you into this process of writing. And so this is what we call low stakes writing. I'm just trying to see, are you able to take the reading and then apply it into the written form? So you'll see there's a bunch of different options there that provide a variety of learning styles so that you have lots of opportunities to understand the material and then to show me that you're getting it so that hopefully everybody gets an A. That's my goal. The kind of give you some visuals here. You'll get these PDFs in Blackboard that breaks down what you need to do each assignment or each week. So I show you here, this is what you're doing in week 1 and week 2, for example. You'll have like a little click here button that will take you to these Google Drives, and you can read or download the assignment that way. You'll then have thought papers over the next 2 weeks. There's also the survey syllabus and expectations about this semester. So it's kind of a quick survey that you take over Google Forms, and that's showing me whether you paid attention to the syllabus and really to this video. In your Blackboard app or on the website online, you'll see a little tab that says My Grades. And so that'll give you kind of a general idea of how you're doing as far as the score goes. But keep in mind that some of the grades won't be put in until a later time. So it's not going to give you an exact figure. Also keep in mind that I have my own spreadsheet so that I can do the percentages and that you can kind of, you get a kind of a fair representation than just a multiplication thing. Same thing with the extra credit, right? That's not going to show up on CUNY Blackboard. So just wanted to give you all this information, and then you'll find this in the course content, and that will be kind of the main source, as well as where the syllabus will be kept. You'll also want to pay attention to the announcements tab and to check that fairly regularly so that you get up to date on what's going on each week. Now in the syllabus, I do provide a set of resources here that I've kind of put into 3 categories: course support, life support, and engagement. And so each of these are clickable. So you just click on, say, accessibility, or you click on SUIC, which is the Student Union Intercultural Center, and that takes you to a website or a service. If you need help navigating that system or getting any of these resources, please definitely reach out to me. I can help you through that process. And this is all because my goal is for everyone to do as well as possible. So I want you to have the supports that you need in order to do the best you possibly can. When I was a student and I was in community college, I wish I had everything organized like this, where I knew exactly where to go. It took a while to learn how do I get help from different parts of the college. I hope I don't have to go into this too deeply, but don't steal from the internet, right? So the college administration is paying attention. It's a national big problem. People are very concerned about it. Faculty, we know when it happens. It's super obvious when you do it. We have options. So some of your professors will try to kick you out of college. Others will just give you a 0. Others will report you to the college, and then you'll have to go through this formal process. I mean, some will just completely ignore it. So don't put us into these situations is what I'd ask you to do. And then if you get accused of stealing, or if you're accused of plagiarism and you think that this was unjust, reach out to me. You have rights, and I would be willing to help and represent you go through that process. And just at least so that you get a fair, sometimes you cheat and you didn't realize you were cheating, for example. The way I see this is I'm kind of going to warn you, like, this isn't helpful. You're not really doing what is kind of the point of college. I understand why people do it, but again, just help me out. Just don't do it. You have weekly assignments, and so these should be done the week they're assigned. Ideally, you do them like on Monday or Tuesday. Obviously, if you have to work, or you're taking care of people, or you have kids, or you've got other classes, you might not get the work done until later in that week. Obviously, that's okay. In general, right, things would be considered late, like the Monday the next week, right? You can submit late work, but please understand, you're not going to get full credit. You're not going to get all of your points, and you're going to get further behind, making everything harder, and that makes life harder for me too. And then I can't give you timely feedback, right? Because I have to give the feedback to the students who turn their work in on time. And then if you're falling behind, then I'm trying to catch up with you, and I'm trying to keep up with them, and it just becomes impossible for me to keep up. So if you feel like you're getting behind, please reach out to me as early as you can, and we can work on something else. That way I'm not kind of chasing people down. I know what's going on with you. Maybe you tell me I'm really going to be able to catch up in 2 weeks, or I'm not going to do anything for spring break. I'm going to just get all my work done, right? As long as you're communicating with me, it makes life so much easier for both of us. And again, you're going to get credit for work that you submit late. So don't worry about, it's not going to be a 0. But again, I need to encourage you to try to get things done as quickly as you can so that we can keep up with the content. Just to remind you, you have a paper due this week, and so you need to read carefully and closely. It's not a very long reading. It's just giving you kind of a perspective that jumps you into kind of how global issues and politics and law all come together, and maybe have you think a little bit about where does your role kind of fit in there, by helping you understand how do I see it. I want you to try to focus on this first assignment on a statement or idea that stands out to you. So if something like really speaks to you, or if you disagree with it, or it seems confusing to you, like, focus on that thing. Try to make your first paper about that, so that we have some baseline, some place for us to start. And probably most importantly in week 1 is take really good notes about the reading, and then try to ask good questions. It's okay to ask a question or two in your thought paper to try to help me understand, what are you getting? What are you struggling with? That's really the main point of week 1. Give you the happy news, right? Spring break is April 15th to 24th, so that'll give you a break. I do want to make clear to everyone, if you're interested in an honors contract, you've had to have already started it, and you must have had at least one check-in meeting with me, meaning you've done some research and you started writing by the end of this week, so by the end of April 24th. I'm not going to sign any papers or grade anything for honors contracts after that. So I need to get you, started early. So if you know for sure that you want to do an honors contract, and contact the honors department if that's something you want to do, let me know. There's obvious benefits to doing it. You get to know your professors, makes it easier for me to write you a letter of recommendation someday. And also you get an asterisk on your transcript, and so it stands out when it comes to transfer applications, job applications, etc. The same thing goes for people who are falling behind. If you need some extra work or some extra credit, you really need to reach out to me during spring break so that we can really get you kind of caught up before we start moving back on again. I really want you to think about using me as a resource during this time in order for us to catch back up. The midterm exam, which will probably be the first major thing that you want to think about for week 7, that's going to be, again, a Google form that will be shared over Blackboard. You'll fill it out. Again, it's very response driven, so you're not writing a big long essay. You're really just responding. There will probably be some multiple choice questions or short answer questions that are really just based on reading comprehension. So have your readings ready, right? Have them available so that you can look for the answers basically and write them out. But also really rely on your thought paper and your notes because you've already kind of thought about these things. And so use that material for your answers. I really just want to make sure that you understand the concepts so that the second half of the semester goes smoothly. You're also going to define these words and possibly a few others in your own words. So you're not copying and pasting from the internet. I don't need you to give me what Google says these terms mean. I need you to help me understand what you think these terms mean. So if you use this crazy language that I see on the internet, I'll know that you have no idea what these terms mean because those answers are wrong, to be clear, but they're also very pointless and not very intelligent. So I really want you to use examples and try to just come up, what do these things mean to you? That's what I really need to know. I don't need to know what other people think these words mean, again, that I don't know. I need to know what do you think. And that's largely because after that, for the final exam, you're going to start to ask other people, what do they think those words mean? What do they think politics is? And so this is kind of your social science experiment that's going to get you to see, how do people think about these things differently? What do they think government is? We talk a lot about self-government, but very few people talk about what on earth that means. And so that's what you're going to be doing. Now in weeks 8 to 10, you're really going to get a chance to work out these ideas through the discussion board by engaging with other students. You're going to be commenting on what they're finding and sharing information back and forth. You should definitely, share where are you getting your information, the independent research you've been doing, and then, try to analyze a little bit, are these family members, friends, social media? Tell us, what did you learn from doing this project? And I'll be sharing a week 9 video that will kind of go over the midterm responses, put them in context so you can prepare for the final exam. And then just to end with a few things about me, I have an Instagram if you're interested in that. That's a bunch of nonsense that I put on there, usually things my dog does, things I see out on the street, some general music, me playing around on the guitar, and some other nonsense things, sometimes things that are relevant to the course or to college life. I try to put things on there that are useful for students when they come to me. And then I'm also connected to, the baseball team on Instagram, the service, some of the student services, student life, student union. So, I'll try to share those things as well. This is all assuming, of course, that any of you are on Instagram. I also have a YouTube channel where you'll find materials that I use for my constitutional law class, for my environmental politics and law class, and for the judiciary, the court's legal system class, as well as some of the other work I do on equity, culturally responsive teaching, and various other talks that people ask me to do from time to time. I'll also put some videos for our class up there as they kind of hopefully help you through this course. I was the first in my family to go to college, so it was very confusing at first. I didn't really know what was going on. So I like to be a resource to people who are also the first in their family. Even if you're not in the first in your family, I'll still be a resource to you to help you understand what on earth is going on. College is kind of a different place with a different language and different expectations than what I experienced in the workplace before I went to college. I also worked in political campaigns for both political parties and also for nonpartisan issues, and so I have quite a bit of experience, in that political sense, and then especially with how the political parties work in real life as opposed to what it says in the textbook. I'm still somewhat involved, but more on an advisory and definitely not really connected to the political parties anymore. I also worked in civic education, so I taught students how to do mock trials, youth legislatures. I've been a reading instructor. I worked briefly, I taught a kindergarten class. I was a AmeriCorps volunteer, and so I've done kind of a lot of issues or education related to very particular issues in very particular communities, and just really trying to focus on civic engagement and democratic learning. In law school, I focused on international law and really tried to zero my attention in on human rights. However, while I was working in firms, right, I did some criminal defense, I did some civil law, tort law. There's a lot of different things you do in the legal world. But I found my talent really was, well, the talent that I wanted to put to use was on legal writing and research. And so, when I worked for and with attorneys, it was usually doing research and then writing out briefs, sometimes writing out petitions or what are called interrogatories. But this was the thing that I really, liked doing. And so it made sense to me then to pursue a career doing what I do now, where I get to teach and research about law. And I really focus on what's called socio-legal research, meaning I'm looking at the social aspects of how law works in our everyday lives. And I'm very interested in how people think about legality and what law means to them, especially as it relates to power and what you find useful about these concepts. And then I am a culturally responsive educator, meaning that I focus on very particular practices that have been proven or they've been written about by other practitioners who kind of talk about making sure that I'm valuing and encouraging you to speak in your own language, own languages, to talk about your cultural experience in a way that makes sense to you, and that it's not just all about me. It's not just based upon how I was raised or what I think. It's really all of us coming into a dialogue with each other. And so I hope that, if there's ever a time that you feel like you're not quite getting it, that you can speak to me about that and we can try to find something that's mutually agreeable. And so that's the class in a nutshell and me in a very small nutshell. And I encourage you again to reach out to me and we can talk. Asynchronous can be a little bit difficult if this is your first class or if you're new to college, so don't feel bad about that. Feel free to use the discussion board, especially the introduction, to talk to each other, right? There's no limitation on responses. And again, we can set up meetings and let me know if you all think extra credit Zoom sessions would be helpful as well. I also will be on campus on Mondays if you happen to be there and you'd like to meet me in physical reality. I teach a class in the morning at 9:45. It's a constitutional law class. So we can talk about some of your interests as well if you want to do that. And then I'll be involved with an art exhibition on campus about homelessness that will be going on from March and April. And there'll be lots of extra credit activities if you want to get involved in that. So I hope everyone has a wonderful semester. Welcome back and yay for spring.